guys, welcome back to another video. Thanks for tuning in. So this week my vlog is a little bit of a different one. I'm going to be talking to you about what is next for me in terms of my running career. So as we know, last season didn't really go to plan and I didn't end up running at Nationals for sort of two reasons. One, we weren't sort of producing the times I should have been producing, and then the other reason was I have a heel spur on my heel. It's a bone spur, sorry, on my heel, and it flared up, and just running was pretty painful, but hurdling was just immensely painful. So because we'd been focusing on the hurdles in the back half of the season, we hadn't really run enough 400s for me to be running a competitive one. So we just decided to miss Nationals, and I've talked a little bit about some of the training changes we've made. But we've made a few more changes, we made a few more decisions, and I want to talk to you about that today. But first up, I will just say that training is going really, really well, and I actually am preparing for a competition, and I'll be talking about that shortly. But let's just check out one of my latest training sessions, because the sessions have been going really well. What's happening? So look, basically I just want to say, like, everything is going really well and I'm not retiring or anything like that, and I'm not changing events and I'm not changing coaches. I will be completely honest and tell you that I really did have to sit down, and I did take a little bit of time away from like Russ and my training squad, and I really had to think about, for me, what was next. And one of the things that was on my mind was I still did want to run, and I still know that my body is capable of running fast. Like, I don't think I'm at a point in my life where I have to retire because I'm having injury after injury. But I did have to sit down and say to myself, perhaps my coaching situation isn't working for me. And look, after, chatting to some other coaches, chatting to my parents, and, just chatting to my friends and family, I did come to the conclusion that Russ is the right coach for me. I just have to be more, open about things that are happening in other portions of my life. I'm not that great at saying to Russ, like, hey, my mum's quite ill at the moment, or work's really hectic at the moment. I kind of just turn up and pretend everything is all right. And that's sort of, part of the problem. So for me, with my job, I'm really at a junction. So basically, as you know, we've just moved offices and we've kind of had a merger, and we've had this strategic plan that puts us in alignment with other facets of the industry I work in. And yeah, just for me, I feel like the last 6 to 8 months, there's been like a lot of stress and a lot of pressure and a lot of expectations put on me, but not a lot of direction has been given to me. So as you know, I almost was made redundant. They were thinking of doing away with my role, but after careful consideration, they decided that they really couldn't be without my role, which was the right decision, not just because I kept my job, like I could have gone and found another one, but because the way the company is structured, if I don't do my job, there's really no one person that could pick up all of my role, and it kind of can't be separated. I'm sorry, I can't be more specific about it than that. I'd have to tell you who I work for and what I specifically do. And I don't want to do that. I just don't want anyone to pass judgment on the company I work for, because at the end of the day, they are really quite good employers. It's just that sometimes they get things wrong and I don't agree with things they do, and I am completely entitled to that, and they are entitled to make mistakes. They probably sometimes don't like some of the ways that I go about carrying out things, but as long as I get the end result, they kind of have to go along with it. So basically, I've been thrown a lot of responsibility in the last 6 months, but I haven't been given any direction, or more specifically, I haven't been told how much authority I have over things. So I have just taken on things and done them myself, because I haven't felt that I've been able to say, hey, can I get this person to do that? Or can we get this extra resource in to do these things? And the office move was a perfect example of that. I more than pulled my weight on that move. I cleared out, tidied, packed up so many areas, and then I looked after so many of the logistics of the move. It was just all left to me. And at the same time, I still had to do my regular job, so it was quite stressful. And I'm not going to lie, there is now some tension in the office over it, because we're finding that I've thrown out things that other people wanted to keep. And I've basically said to them, well, we had boxes for certain rooms, you didn't put it in there. I came through in that last week and threw stuff out, because I'd figured by then people had either moved the stuff they wanted to the new location, put it in the boxes that were going to the new location, or they'd taken it with them so that they had it because they needed it all the time. So it's on you that it's been thrown out. It's not on me that it's been thrown out. And now in your budget, you'll have to figure out how it will be purchased again. I'm not taking it out of my budget to replace it. It's not my fault it's been thrown away. And just other things like that, as we're currently setting up the new office, I'm focused on logistically big things like getting the printer in, making sure the internet works, making sure that everyone understands the processes, because for the first time ever, we don't own the building we are in. So we can't just come and go as we please. We don't have any say over the security. So there are out of hours processes that have to be followed if we want to access the building. And that's just how it is. You don't want to set off an alarm, and you don't want security coming and bugging you unnecessarily. I'm worried about those big logistical things. I'm not so much necessarily worried about the fact that we don't have tea in the tea break room yet. You can go and purchase that if you need it. That sort of stuff will come once the things that everyone needs to do their job are settled and all the processes are in place. But I do have my annual performance review coming up in a couple of days. I don't think I'm gonna fail it or anything like that, but it is really a time for me to sit down and say to my senior managers, okay, so where is this role going? And my position description and responsibilities need to change. There's a lot on there that I just don't do because other things take up. I've been given responsibilities in other areas, and just sort of say where is this role progressing? And I need you to give me a specific list of things that I'm responsible for, and I have 100% authority over, and can say this person needs to do this, and this can be approved by me. So I'm definitely at a junction career-wise. But, running-wise, that career-wise, I'm also at a junction there. So basically, I'm in my 30s now, and in athletics, when you hit 30, you become considered a master athlete. Now, is that outdated? Absolutely, because athletes like Alison Felix are 38, 39, and they're still running 50 seconds for, the 400. And, you see Shelley-Ann Fraser-Price, she's still challenging the world's best, and she's not only had a baby, but she's in her mid-30s. So 30 isn't sort of the drop-off it once was. So the age grouping is probably not as, accurate as it could be. So for me, though, I am still quite competitive in what they call the open age group. Obviously not the last few seasons, they haven't been going to plan, but something that it looks like is increasingly likely to happen is that in Australia, athletics is sort of governed by 3 organisations. You have Little Athletics up to the age of 15. Well, it was 15 when I started the sport. I understand now, I think it goes up to under 19s. Then you have Athletics Australia, which is, probably more like the teams you see on television. It's your Olympic teams, your Commonwealth Game teams, your World Championship teams. So they're in charge of organising and coordinating that, and then their responsibility lies in developing the sport as well. So does little athletics, but it's really that sort of teen to open age group that they look after. And then you have your masters athletes, which are 30 plus. Now, it is likely in the next few years that all the things will merge into one, and you'll just have one central body that manages the development of the sport from like starting in little tiny tots all the way up to like 100 years old. And I guess that makes sense, and it's the way that a lot of organisations are going if they aren't there already. So what I'm getting at here is that moving forward, I will be competing in both the open age group and the masters age group. Now, the reason why we've decided this is because I have sort of said to us, like, I still want to continue to make national teams. But the reality is that there's not that many national teams to make in athletics. So there's a lot of athletes really trying to make maybe 3 spots in a team for, you know, an event. You might get lucky if you do relays and add a relay, but there's just not like the teams there to be made. And so what Russ said was, you know, you're in your 30s and you're really quite competitive, you know, in your age group for masters. So why don't we look to see if we can make international teams there? And look, I'm not gonna lie, initially I was kind of insulted by that because I kind of saw like masters events as like being a step down. But I've done some looking into it, and there are some really fast times being run, I guess, for my age bracket in the masters. So yeah, moving forward, I will still like probably run week to week at interclub ones during the season. And that's just because in Queensland, that's where I'm going to get the greatest challenge against like the 400 hurdles and probably the 400. Obviously, if to qualify for certain events, I have to go and run at a certain minimum number of masters events, I'll totally go out and do that. It's another race, it's another learning experience, so it's totally cool. But in terms of being challenged, you'll probably still see me out at like, you know, your Queensland Athletics Open events, and hopefully at some Athletics Australia like national meets. That would be really good. But in terms of nationals, look, if I was like super competitive and I was pushing for a top 3 finish at nationals next year in open nationals, I would probably make the trip to Perth, which is where the Australian Athletics Championships are being held next year. But being that I do want to start being considered for international masters teams, I'll probably more likely run at Masters Nationals next year, which I'm a lot happier about because it's in Sydney, and so I get to get in there and see my family, and it's not like a super long flight that it is to Perth. But yeah, and I mean, also I need to start sort of figuring out the logistics of things in Masters. Like, I know how to apply for teams and like the qualification process and that sort of stuff for open national teams with Athletics Australia, but I don't with Masters. So I need to probably compete at a bunch of those meets so that I know all that. But I just have to say, on like a bigger scale and something that excites me more, I'm really looking forward to, I guess, seeing more people in my age band out at meets. So I don't get me wrong, I really enjoy my training squad, but the reality is for some of them, they've just left high school, whereas like I left high school like over a decade ago. I now have like a degree with honours, and I've got a career. Like, I'm in a very different lifespan to them. And, you know, one of the reasons why you do sport and you participate in sport is because the friendships and the connections you make. And for me, over the last few years, a lot of the girls and guys that I knew that did athletics, they've sort of moved on because they've started families, or their job just means that they don't have time to train at the level they would want to be training at to compete. So I guess like my friends in the sport have sort of dwindled, and that sort of does make it a little less enjoyable when you go out to compete, because you basically kind of just go out, run, and then maybe cheer for your own friends and your own squad, and then you go home. Whereas I'm hoping with the Masters, like, I can form new friends and connections because these people are at a similar like stage in life to me. And I think all up that will just make running even more enjoyable than I currently find it. All right, so before I finish up, I do just want to let you know that next week I will be traveling to Mackay and I will be participating in my first Masters event. So the Oceania Area Championships are in Mackay this year, and there's age groups from, I think, under 16s all the way up to Masters. So the Masters competition also doubles as the Queensland State Championships this year. So I'm entered in the 400 and the 400 hurdles. They are both on the same day, so it's kind of good because I just basically get to travel up, compete, and then come straight home. But it's also not good because it's two 400s on the same day. So I'm actually really excited about it. There's actually quite a few Masters athletes going, so it's not like I'm going up there to race myself. I am very lucky. The Masters have been paired with the under 20 age group, and two of the guys from my training squad, Abby and Lockie, are in the under 20 age group, so I will get to see them compete as well. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. In some ways, it's kind of like I get a little bit of redemption. I get to go up there and try and run a really fast couple of races that I didn't get to run at Nationals because I didn't race at it. But for me, it's just about going up there and starting to feel out the whole Masters athlete meet process. And yeah, just like I said, starting to build those bonds with the other athletes who are going to be up there to compete. So thank you very much for watching another video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to like and subscribe. And I will see you all in my next video.